Jamil, Mr. Douglas, man, welcome to the Intangible podcast. Really excited to have you on, dive into your story. I think the route that you've gone through in your career has created this resilience and this toughness about you that I'm sure has carried over into life after football. So I'm really excited to dive into it, man. So welcome to the Intangible podcast.
No, I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you for having me. That's a good intro right there. I love that because it's kind of on brand for the underdogs.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I'm gonna ask you about the underdogs, and I'm also, from an intro standpoint, you're a guy who was a fourth round pick by Miami. You go on to play there. You play early. You make 16 appearances that first year. I mean, that's pretty impressive as a rookie. And then you go on and you play on multiple teams, one in particular New England, you get a Super Bowl ring. Yeah. Before we dive into all of that, we want to go back to, your upbringing, the things that, you went through childhood, your family, and the people that really helped shape you to who you've become now in life. Get back to the early beginnings and how it all started for you.
Yeah, man, for sure. Look, I'll say this, man. I'm always constantly thinking about my upbringing as obviously I'm an adult now and also a father. So there are things that pop up to me now that resonate with me just given, where I'm at in life. But I'll say this. I had a lot of influential people in my life very early on. From obviously my parents, the people that, gave me life, but also coaches and grandparents and friends, all of these people that just played a specific role in my life. I'm the youngest of three. I have an older sister. My oldest brother passed away when I was in high school. That's somebody.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I appreciate that. That's somebody that's been very influential in my journey. And I've spoken on it a little bit before. Like, I don't think that I even touch a football field or, have a career in football if his influence isn't on me. So, yeah, man, a lot of influential people in my life that have shaped me into the person I am today.
Well, you growing up in Cypress, California.
Yeah,
you out there on that West Coast with that fresh air, that crisp breeze.
Yeah.
What was football like, and what was sports like growing up in your town? And was it a thing that was, when we think about sports here in the South, we think about it's life or death. That's all we got down
here.
Sure. And so,
for sure.
Was growing up in Cypress, was that the kind of environment that you was growing up in?
I'll tell you this. So I was born in Los Angeles, California. I was born in Compton, California. My mom and my dad moved us out to Orange County when I was around 8 or 9 years old. The reason behind that was the culture in the inner city of Los Angeles. My parents just didn't feel safe with us growing up within there. There's obviously, a whole bunch of things you can get involved with, from gang culture to just being wrong place, wrong time, and all of those things. So my dad made the decision that he wanted to move us out to Orange County. And growing up, I was primarily a basketball player, man. I spent a lot of my time hooping. I was not a football guy. I didn't like it for whatever reason. That's just kind of
contact, baby. The contact.
Yeah, man. I just didn't like it, but I was always so competitive. So you could put me in any type of sport and I was going to compete because I enjoy competing. The upbringing for me, from a standpoint of sports, it was like, I did everything. I played basketball. I played football. When you're a kid, you play dodgeball. Like, everything was just so competitive for me. So I think my parents knew early on, okay, regardless of what he's in, he wants to compete. So, yeah, man, I played basketball all the way up until my sophomore year of high school. And I remember my freshman year, my high school football coach came over to me. And I was having some issues with the basketball coach. Like, I wanted to play more. He wasn't playing me as much. And he was like, hey, man, it's just like in the movies. Hey, man, you should come out for football. And I was like, nah, I'm cool. I was like, nah, I'm cool. I'm not really into it like that. And he's like, nah. He's like, listen, you come out and you play for me, you'll play on Sundays. And I remember going back and telling my dad that, and he was like, really? Like, that's what he said? Like, that's a big promise, you know, to tell someone you'll play on Sundays if you come play for me.
Young kid, yeah, man.
Man, I didn't know left from right. You could not tell me zone left, zone right. I had no idea what that meant. And, you know, so you throw a long young kid on the offensive line, and there was definitely some learning curves, but man, probably the best thing that happened to me in terms of, you know how football is. It teaches you so much about yourself at a young age that you don't realize until you get older. Like, man, it taught me discipline, structure, all of these things. So, from then on, man, football was my main priority, and I ended up quitting basketball.
Yeah. So how was you talked about your brother there. How was he influential in that decision to make that switch over to football?
Yeah, man. So my brother actually played football majority of his high school. Are we still in here? It said trying to reconnect.
It's clear on my side.
Oh man.
Yeah, give me 1 second here. Picture mode is closed. To maintain. Oh, hold on 1 second here. Let's see.
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Yeah, that's weird because I got you and it's clear on my end. I'm trying to.
All right, well, we could just roll with it, man. If you cool with it.
Oh, let me just. Hold on 1 second here. I'm just gonna close out. This side. Let's see. How about that now?
Yeah. I can see you
back
now.
Yet?
Yeah, I can see you now.
Okay. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I'm good. Oh, that's weird. I don't know why I did that. All right, it's a good thing we got editing. Man. You know how that goes. We good.
Yeah. Tell me what the question was again.
Yeah, so we'll go back. So you talked about your brother and how influential that he was into helping you. You know, if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have played football. You know, how was he influential to helping you making that decision to play football?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a good question. You know, with my brother, he played football majority of his high school career. And I'll say this, like, he didn't particularly enjoy it either. I think he enjoyed the basketball side of things. He was another like tall guy. And so me just seeing that from a young age, me seeing him going out and trying to, grasp the concept of football, I think it just did something to me internally. And, you know, obviously when he passed, I was in my senior year of high school. So I was well into, you know, the sport of football, but it gave me another reason or another purpose to continue playing. So I just think like just seeing him go after it was the main thing for me. Like seeing him, you know, get past the point of like, you know, I don't enjoy it, but I know I can play it. That made me want to go try it.
3, 2, 1. Parents, the recruiting process is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever face for your child. And talent isn't enough. Coaches are looking for the intangibles like composure, coachability, communication, and leadership. And that's what Team Q measures. Get clear insights into your child's intangibles so they stand out when it matters most. Go to teamq.io and help your athlete unlock greatness.
You said the word purpose, man. Why do you think purpose is, you know, you need purpose to really do something and do it well?
Man, because purpose is something that, for me, I've done kind of a lot of like research around post-career, but I would say purpose is like a lot deeper than just motivation. You know, like you can be motivated for a couple weeks, a couple months to do something, but if it has purpose behind it, that means that internally it goes deeper than your motivation or your inspiration. Like for me, purpose in why am I getting up every morning? What is my purpose? Like to me, that allows you to just have a different type of fuel, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I like that because it was interesting to me you chose the word purpose opposed to your brother inspired you to really get into it, which, I just wanted to touch on what that deeper meaning was for you, because I think the more we can find our purpose, the longer we can stay into what we're doing, because that's that thing that really fuels you. And again, because of all of the distractions, inspiration is fleeting, and there's a new inspiration, but I think that purpose is that centerpiece that really keeps driving you. And so your brother now has brought this purpose out of you. Now you got that feeling of purpose, and it's driving you to really go out here and compete. How was that transition from basketball, giving up something you've done a very long time, to really pouring into football and saying, hey, I want to do this? Was your mindset that my coach told me he can get me to play on Sunday, or was your mindset of like, hey man, I got something else different that I can bring to this sport?
Yeah, what's crazy? I wasn't even thinking about playing on Sundays at that type of age. Like, it was something he said to me, but like my goal growing up was never, I want to be in the NFL. That was never my goal. I knew I wanted to be in athletics and I wanted to get a scholarship and do all of those things, but I never thought that I was going to play on Sundays for whatever reason. My goal starting out was learning to play the sport of football. Basketball was second nature to me. I didn't have to think on the basketball court. When I started playing football, a lot of things came into my head as far as learning, what is power, what is counter, all of these things that you run in high school. Like those sound like a foreign language to you if you've never played the sport of football. Obviously, I played Pop Warner. That's another story. I quit Pop Warner when I was a kid, just because the simple fact that we would spend a whole practice bear crawling around a baseball field. Like to me, that was pointless. But so
discipline, baby, try to get that discipline right.
Hey, there's ways to go about it for sure. But I was not the guy to be bear crawling. But yeah, man, my main focus, man, was like, I knew I liked to compete. I knew that I had these intangibles that, would serve me well in another sport. And so I just brought that to the football field. Like, I knew I was disciplined. Like, you didn't have to tell me things twice as a kid. Like, I got up on my own with an alarm clock, like that, those type of things. Like, I didn't have to learn those things. So it was much easier to just focus on the game of football.
Yeah. Now, do you think, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Do you think, you could have made that transition if you would have went on to college and played college basketball, and then I'm coming out and I'm going to play in the NFL or get a shot at the NFL? And I'm thinking about guys like Antonio Gates, who's now just, going into the Hall of Fame, who didn't play a down of high school ball and college ball. He played basketball in college, and now he's a Hall of Famer. Do you think you could have? You think it would have been harder to make that transition?
It would have been tough, man, from an offensive line standpoint, because I feel like when you're able, like a good offensive lineman, like that technique is ingrained within you from whatever age you started playing. So to me, like if I had spent all of my time playing basketball, and then it'd be different if you tell me to go play tight end or something where I'm not having to block 24/7, but to go and play guard or center, it'd have been tough, man. Cause hey,
it's a different world inside. It's a different world in there.
It's a different world. You know how it is. It gets real. So man, it'd have been tough, but if I had played tight end, I thought I was going to play tight end. I'm not going to even lie to you, but they like, I got to Arizona State. They're like, nah, get on the line.
Hey, you got that frame that just that speaks to O-line coaches and say, yes, I mean, you got good footwork, you got a big frame, got long arms.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me get this guy over here on my side of the ball.
You already
I,
know.
I was one of those guys that was just like, 6'3", just 315 pounds, but just really strong and interior. So like, yeah, you're not going on the defense side of the ball. You coming right over here, and you're gonna play some guard and center. That's what your lot
Yeah.
in life is going to be. And once they deem you as
Yeah.
that, there's no turning back.
Oh, there's
There's
no
no
going
turning
back.
back.
There's no going back. Once you get moved to O-line, you stuck there.
You're a lifer. You're a lifer. Well,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Well, so you go on, and you have a good senior year, and then you get an opportunity to start getting recruited. How was the recruiting process for you? Was Arizona Arizona State, was that your only offer, or was it something that you have built enough of a brand that you can go pretty much and play wherever you wanted to go?
Yeah, man. So I'll say no. I didn't get it. I didn't have a chance to just go wherever I wanted to go, but I did have choices to pick from. What's interesting is I just saw my high school coach a couple weeks ago when I was in California. I went and visited, still have a great relationship with him. And he reminded me of this story of when I was in high school. And I don't know if you remember the clearinghouse. Do you remember how you had to apply through the NCAA clearinghouse and you had to take certain amount of classes in order to be eligible to go D1 or D2, whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
He's like, hey, do you remember when you went and told your academic advisor you wanted to apply for the clearinghouse? And what she told me was, well, you should just apply for the community college. Like, she was basically putting this ceiling on me. And like I said, I've had a lot of influential people in my life. My head coach, I remember him going in there and tearing up the office from a standpoint of don't ever say that to this kid. But I remember when she did that, and I was feeling like back against the wall type of deal. Because I didn't know that the odds were kind of stacked against me in that standpoint. Yeah. There had never, and it's not her fault, there had never been, I think there was one other guy from Cypress that went on to play in the NFL, and his name was Clarence Moore. He played for the Baltimore Ravens for a little bit. But they had never seen, someone getting highly recruited out of Cypress High School. So Utah was actually who I was committed to originally. And if people remember, Utah had just beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, I want to say a year prior to that. And Kyle Whittingham was probably one of the hottest coaches at the time.
Yeah.
And so I think I had a couple small school offers, like, I can't remember, Townsend State, like things like that. And then Utah came, they offered me, and I committed there right off the bat. I was like, yeah, I'm going 100%. Took my official. I was like, this is where I want to be. Now, I still had to play my senior season out. And throughout that season, there was just communication that wasn't there. Like, I would go weeks without hearing from them. And, to me, those type of things were important to me. Like, am I getting, put on the back burner because I gave you a commitment, or am I still a focal point to you guys? And I remember Arizona State called, and they called my head coach from high school and was like, hey, is his commitment, this a firm commitment, or, how is it? And he told them, like, he's having some second thoughts about it. And Arizona State offered me, and that was where I decided to go. And in terms of, like, I wanted to play back home. I wanted to play against the UCLAs, the SCs, like all these people that I grew up watching. So Arizona State ended up being the perfect fit for me.
Yeah. What's crazy is that I don't think I think it's a normal thing when you talked about, your guidance counselors, the things that they had you set up for. Because I remember when I was coming out, the same thing. If it wasn't for a guy named Mike McIntyre, who was at Ole Miss at the time, he was a DB coach. He was recruiting my area. If it wasn't for him, I don't know if I would have got recognized enough that early on that I was not in the right things to get into a 4-year college.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him doing the same thing, going in and just like,
Man, you
giving
gotta have
the
that.
counselor the business because it's like you guys don't even have them set up to even to even get into a 4-year college. And so I don't know if it's, when you're talking about the recruiting aspect of things, I don't know if it's something that just was a course or something, a newsletter or something that goes out to counselors and say, hey, if you got a kid that's been recruited, here are some things that you need to have them doing to make sure that they're eligible to get there. And so hopefully today that's not the case for a lot of these kids, because it can set you back if you don't catch it early. And I was lucky enough to catch it early enough to get on the right course.
No, for sure. The landscape of college athletics and high school athletics has changed so much. I don't even know that there is a clearinghouse these days. But, for us, that was something that was new, that was implemented. And I remember being a little intimidated by the process of what it is. Like, why do I have to apply for this thing and take these certain classes in order to be eligible? So, man, it goes back to what you said. Like, I feel like guys that make it to that top 1% have someone in their corner that went to bat for them at some point. Yeah. And I've always, expressed my appreciation for my high school coach, Ray Fenton. He's been someone who has stuck by my side through thick and thin. So you got to have those type of people to get you to where you need to go.
Yeah. So, I think it's so true I think anywhere in life, you got to have people like that in your corner. Mm-hmm. But as we start to really look at you forging yourself ahead into Arizona State, this is where you decide you want to go. You show up on campus, and now you this young freshman trying to figure out, all right, where do I fit in? Do I play inside or am I play outside? Can I even get through these grueling workouts? So how do I balance all the school activities and all those different things? How was that transition for you, and what kind of mindset did you have? What kind of, resolve did you have to build to get through those processes?
Yeah, man, I'll say the college workouts that you get put through, I don't know how we made it through those things these days. Like I look back at some of the things of running bleachers, and mind you, I'm in Arizona at Arizona State, so it's 108 outside, and you're training.
You can't escape. You can't escape like you can now. You can. I'm gonna go to California for a couple of weeks till this heat cools off a little bit.
You can't escape, man. And as a freshman, they're the goal for me was I came into college and I was like 235. So imagine, I got to put on, they were like, you got to be 260 by the end of this redshirt year. Like, that's the only way that you're going to have a chance to play the following year. So from a standpoint
of 235 coming into college.
I told you, I thought I was going to play tight end, man.
Okay. Now that makes sense. I showed up at 315.
Man, I was 235, and I remember the strength coach looked at me and he was like, yeah, you're going to have to put some weight on, So my build, like I would consider myself a late developer. I was somebody that had the build for it, but the weight was just not adding up. I would eat, but nothing was, sticking. So,
let me ask you a question. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm thinking about this. Because you was a late build guy, do you think, now that you could have had the ability to really put the weight on and get through, 2 years of just trying to get stronger and get bigger in this day and time, do you think you would have had the same opportunities, or you think they would have dismissed you because they didn't have time to wait for you? Because it's a different era now. I think about it with my kids. I think about watching kids and having conversation with other parents, and you just talk about, oh, my kid's a late bloomer. He hasn't hit his growth spurt yet. How would you think you would have fared through that process, or have you even thought about it?
Man, and I've given it some thought for sure. I think it was always an understanding for me. Like when I saw other offensive linemen that were in my class, I'm like, all right, he's got the size obviously on me, and so I knew that there was going to be some sort of like buffer period that I would have to put weight on. I'll say this. I wish I wasn't a late developer from a standpoint of confidence in playing the position at the Division I level. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I had a lot of hard lessons that I had to learn through a lot of bull rushes and things like that. Just being light. That's what it is, you know. But I wouldn't trade my athleticism or my, you know, my build for anything. I just wish that I had the weight on me early on, because it would have allowed me to just focus on playing the game as opposed to, man, I'm drinking 4 muscle milk. This was not healthy, by the way. I do not recommend this, but I had to drink 4 muscle milks after every weight training session just because that's what it was. Crazy.
So you go through this process. How long did it take you to put the weight on, and then what you finally get up to where you felt like, okay, I feel like I got enough anchor to actually play this position?
Man, the anchor took a while. I'll say that the anchor took a while, but the weight came on right after my redshirt freshman year. I think by the end of my redshirt freshman year and starting my sophomore year, or my redshirt sophomore year, I was probably around 265, and I had a great spring camp, training camp, and I ended up starting that year. So I played guard in the Pac-12 at that time at 265 at my heaviest, and that was my redshirt sophomore year.
Say that one more time. 265.
Yeah, 265 when I was a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah, we should have just shipped you on down here to Mississippi, man. We would put that weight on you real fast. You need some good old collard greens and black eyed peas. We'd have got you right.
Because they was not feeding me like that. We was eating trail mix and muscle milk.
No, we had the spread set up for you, man. Get you, just sit down. All you got to do is sit down and just keep moving. You keep
I already know. That SEC is different.
Hey, you heard it. He said it. I didn't have to say it. He said it. Well, I think about the those early processes, just trying to really learn how to play the position. What was did you come into that place from a mindset of wanting to give up on yourself, or I don't know if I can really stick around and do this? Did any of those thoughts ever creep up in your mind, and did it affect you, or were you able to keep yourself focused on what you were trying to accomplish?
No, I'd be lying if I said it didn't affect me. Like I had a hard time with it, just being completely honest. I had multiple times where I'm calling friends back home, or calling my mom or my pops at the time, and I'm just like, I don't know if this is for me. Like I'm just not sure from a mental capacity if I can, do this. Like offensive line is a hard job, especially, I'll tell you this, my senior year, I got to play tight end and defensive end. So imagine going from getting those type of highlights to now you're in college. And I remember I'm getting beat, consistently by this kid, and my college O-line coach is like, hey, if you lose another rep to this kid, we just gonna give him your scholarship. Like that's just what it's gonna be. And I remember that moment being like the light turned on for me, as far as like, you've always been competitive. So just compete, like the technique for me came late. I'm not gonna even lie. The technique came late, but when I started being able to like just focus on playing the game from a competitive level, that's when things started to shift for me. But it wasn't easy by any means.
Yeah, this position, man. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of continuity. It takes, you truly have to work on your craft daily when you're playing O-line, and when you have the distraction of having to focus on gaining weight.
Man.
And that's a whole job in itself, just focusing on trying to gain weight, and then you trying to learn a position that requires a lot of control, aggression, and focus, and
Yes.
memorization. Like being able to see the field, it takes a lot. Being able to see someone's stance, it takes a lot. And so I was just, when you think about that process mentally, did you have to find a psychologist to talk to? Did you have the mental resources to really lean in to make sure that you can get through it, even though you was feeling it, you didn't become those thoughts, you letting it kind of come through, but you were trying to figure out how do I manage this, and I call that mental performance side of things versus the mental toughness. You need both, but that mental performance, how did you really hone in on that mental performance side so that you can, get to a place where you can excel?
Yeah. So to answer your question, as far as like, did I have someone as far as a psychologist to reach out to? At that time, no. And I feel like the game hadn't evolved to that space yet while I was in college of like even understanding, like we knew, people go through certain things, but like they didn't have the psychologists on staff or, the resources that the guys have now. And so you're talking to, maybe it's an academic advisor or, your strength coach. I think a lot of guys in college have great relationships with their strength coaches. For me, I'll say when Todd Graham came to Arizona State, and I know everyone talks about Todd Graham in this way of like, he wasn't a good dude or something. The guy spoke life into me from early on, and everyone that he had on his staff from a standpoint of my offensive line coach Chris Thompson, and also the strength staff, Sean Griswold and Josh Storms. Those guys pushed me to build that confidence. Like there's a way that a strength, when you have a good strength coach and how they can push you to a level that you didn't even know that you could get to, but they do it the right way, in a way that builds you up and gives you that edge to go out and just, man, I give all the credit to Sean Griswold and Josh Storm in that sense, because when they got to Arizona State, the whole landscape for me changed from a mental game. Like I was no longer worried about, can I do this? It was like they saw something in me that they were willing to bring out of me. And all I had to do was fight past that little voice in my head that was telling me, oh, you too tired, or you can't do this. This is too hard. Like Sean Griswold used to, I could still hear his voice till this day, like, push me past those things that I had a hard time getting past before they got there.
Yeah, sounds like he was like that the Peloton instructors.
Man,
right when you want to give up, they yelling at you.
Man, you ain't lying, man. But those, I'm telling you, man, those strength coaches, like, I think you spend a majority of your time with those guys when you're in college because of all the work that you're putting in. And a good team normally has a really good strength coach. Like,
absolutely.
That's just how it goes from a mental standpoint.
My guy was Ruben Mendoza, and I remember, I think I've told this story too, just like my first day of squatting in college was hell on wheels, man. And then we had to go out in the Mississippi heat and run 110s after it. And I was,
man,
first time ever really running like that, man. I remember when we finished squatting, heavy squat day, and and I looked at him. He said, "All right, we got to go out here and run." He had a big, deep voice. He's probably about 6'5", big human. Guy can throw on the bench and rep out 315 without stopping. He just ends up racking it. He hits so many reps, and I'm like, okay. And he looked at me. He said, I got to go out here and run too. I said, it's just my first day.
Man, listen, like, hold on. Can we build up into it, or we got to go all in right now?
No. He's like, you put your hand on a fire. What happens to you? You get burned. He's like, well, I'm throwing you in the fire. Let's go.
Hey, hey, man, he knew what he was doing.
A good strength coach is really key for that mental development, especially as a young guy trying to figure it out.
Yeah, man. I'll say that. And I think, obviously now the game has changed. So guys have the ability to talk to a psychologist or a therapist. And I'm a proponent of that. Obviously, I've done it within the NFL. Absolutely. But, if there is somebody that's going through those type of things, please get whatever you need, to mentally be at your best.
Yeah, and that's back to, you know, moving out of the mindset of just being mental tough. Again, mental toughness is so important, and it is a skill. And also mental performance is a skill, and that's what, you know, the psychologists are now in position to help guys do, is hone in that side of the skill. So now we mirror the two so that, you know, guys can thrive, gals can thrive in whatever sport they're playing. So it's very, very important. So you heard it here. Make sure you don't feel afraid to talk to somebody about what's going on in your head, because at the end of the day, those are the blockers or hurdles that you have to remove so that you can continue to survive and thrive in what you're doing. So before we go any further, we're going to jump into a quick 2 minute. I like to do a 2 minute drill before halftime. You know, not heavy stress. Some rapid fire questions.
2 minutes always heavy stress, and from an offensive line standpoint.
Well, it depends on where you are. You know, as a center, I got an extra hand somewhere around. So I'm not too stressed. You know, I'm only stressed about the call of the snap. You know, from a blocking standpoint, you know, I got a little help. You right
about that. You right about that. Okay, let's get it.
But you guys out there on the edge with no support, you know, everybody's out in the route right now because we got to get this thing down the field really fast. That's another anxiety that I didn't have to deal with.
Listen, when that three tech scoots out to a 5, and you know you're on the man side, it's a different game out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, but this is not win or lose. Going into halftime. So
let's do it.
We're gonna do a quick rapid fire here. All right, most underrated player that you've ever had to block. It could be it could be college or pro.
Yeah, you said underrated?
Underrated.
Most underrated player that I've ever had to block, I would have to say F.A. I can't pronounce F.A.'s last name, but F.A. played in Buffalo. He's still playing. I think he's with the Commanders right now from London. And F.A. had this unique skill set of just, he was long. And I never let him know that he was talented, but hey, F.A. had a good skill set that made him really good.
All right. Best stadium vibe you've ever played in?
Best stadium vibe. Baltimore. We played in Baltimore when I was with the Titans in a playoff game, and we went in there, and the atmosphere in Baltimore couldn't have been better for us because they were silent, and it just felt so good, you know, to get that win there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I like B More.
Yeah.
All right. What's your go-to pump up music before game?
Man, that's a good question. My go-to pump-up music, I'm going to have to say some Young Jeezy, man. Young Jeezy usually get me in the right space.
What was your favorite part about being an offensive lineman?
The post-game feeling after you have success in, like, the run game and the pass game.
It is run game, baby.
You know what I'm saying? Like when you get in that locker room and you just won the game, and the whole O-line is together from a standpoint of like, yo, we just did that. Like that feeling is second to none of just knowing you accomplished what you were supposed to do.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's nothing like closing a game out in 4-minute offense, man. And you moving the ball down the field, just hand it off. They know you got to run it. They know you run it. So they got the box loaded, and you still chunking off yards. First down. Here go another first down.
It's to close
out. There's nothing like that feeling, man. As an offensive
nothing like it. I get chills thinking about it. But yeah, there's nothing that can recreate that type of feeling of like you've been grinding all game, and now you finally got it in the bag, and you did what you were supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And don't let you play. Don't let you play well too, because then you ain't even got to worry about the film. Like you're gonna feel good.
You going home? You going home that night? We're gonna party all night when you feeling good.
Man, you ain't lying.
Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you for that 2 minute segment. We're gonna jump right back into it now. You put all this work in. You've built up this mental capacity, and you end up moving out to left tackle your senior year, and you have a good year, and now you get an opportunity to get drafted. You go on, and you get drafted in the 4th round, and it's your day now. It's your time. You've put all these pieces together, and it's now paid off for you. What was that? What was that feeling like? And then what was your mindset of moving forward, knowing that you still had, as we all do, work to do to continue to prove what you were able to do?
Yeah, looking back at it, man, I wish I had took the draft a little lighter. Like I had so much weight on me as far as like, this is huge in terms of, life changing, the ability to change people's lives. And I think I put that pressure on myself a little too much because I wasn't enjoying the draft process like I should have, like I wish I had. Obviously it's given me perspective, at this point in my life, but I remember thinking, hey, I'm probably going into like the third or fourth round. And obviously third round goes by, you don't get picked. Next day is the fourth round. And again, I went to my college offensive line coach's house that morning, Chris Thompson, because he knew me in and out. So I remember we had breakfast and he was like, hey, like there are no mistakes as far as where you go. So he was like, at some point your name's going to get called. Like, you just take a deep breath and appreciate the moment that you're in. And that kind of reset my focus on what it was. And that day, the Dolphins, called me. So I had never spoken to the Dolphins in the pre-draft process. I had no clue, really what their situation was, but I knew that they wanted me to come in and compete. So again, I told you, I've always been a competitor from day one. Like I love to compete. And that was the mindset after, obviously we got to jump around a little bit and be happy for the moment. But once that switch got flipped, I was just like in the mindset of like, I'm about to go in and compete. Like I want to play. Like I don't want to be one of those guys that gets to the NFL and doesn't play. I want to play. So, that was in my mindset the whole time.
Yeah. So you get drafted, you sitting there, you get a chance to play early, and then things start to snowball into different team here, different team there, which they call as a journeyman. How did you mentally stay focused and stay engaged and want to continue to show up to compete at that high level? And also, what was that mindset of, I feel like I've put in the work to really be stable right now. How was that for you?
Yeah,
how did you
man.
handle that? How did you handle that process?
Man, that process was tough. I'm not going to even sugarcoat it. Like I learned a lot about myself within those years of like 2016, 17, all the way up until, like 2019, when I find my way back to Tennessee or find my way to Tennessee. That process, I found out, do I really love football? Why I have so much respect for Mike Vrabel. Like I remember when I went to Tennessee and I worked out for them in the morning, practiced that same day. And after a scout team period, he came up to me. And he, you know how Mike Vrabel is. He's just going to shoot you straight. Like he came up to me. He's like, hey, the knock on you is, do you love football? He's like, if you love football, he's like, I know you've been through a lot, this and that. But he's like, if you love football, you'll have a home here and you'll play here. And that to me was as cut and clear as I had heard anything in my NFL career. It was like, okay, that's all you want to know? Like, yes, I love this. I love this game, but I had been through so many different situations that I felt like were out of my control. And I almost got into that, we talk about that process of like, why is this happening to me? Like, why am I the guy that is happening to? Like, I'm getting cut, I'm getting released, I'm getting told, hey, it's nothing that you did wrong. Well, why am I getting released if it's nothing I did wrong? And so when I get to Tennessee and it's just like, do you love football from the head coach? Like that to me was all I needed to hear in order to like have that fire relit. And to be honest, the answer before that, probably not. Like I didn't I didn't have a love relationship with the game of football because of the things that I was going through within my career. But man, he made it so cut and clear for me. Like, if you show me you love it, you'll play here.
So what do you think what do you think you were showing without showing that people were realizing, they were thinking like, this kid, I don't know if he really loved football?
Man, you can see it in somebody's play. Like you can just tell, I think if you look at my rookie season when I was playing really well and I was starting and playing meaningful minutes, like there was some explosiveness, there was some pop in there. Like there was just like a different type of grit that you could see on film. And I hadn't displayed that. I had flashes of it within those, couple years of getting cut and released, but I hadn't displayed it consistently. And the little things, as far as finishing after the whistle or jumping over a pile, like those are want to type of things. Like those things don't just happen in the NFL. Like you got to have a guy that wants to be in the mix in order to show up on camera. So I think you could just tell in my play, and then you could also tell just in my face walking in every day. Like I didn't realize,
I don't want to be here.
Yeah, I didn't realize that I was that guy. Yeah. I didn't realize that I was walking into the building and not, not having a pep in my step until I started working with a sports psychologist that changed my mindset around it. But I was that guy, and I can't fault anybody for spotting that out. Like they're not wrong for spotting that out. I just didn't know at the time that I was that guy that had that look in his eye,
Yeah. So moving forward, what checklist did you put in place? After having a conversation with Mike, it seems like he flipped that switch back on in you. What checklist did you create for yourself so when you walked through that building, when you walked into the Titans facility, that he knew that you wanted to be there? Yeah,
man. So that checklist came from a guy named Darren Treasure, and Darren Treasure is a sports psychologist. He was with University of Oregon for a while with their track team, multiple national championships, works with Olympians, like all of the, I can't say who he actually works with from a standpoint of names, but one of the best defensive linemen that we've seen, within our time of playing. He was a guy behind him mentally. And Darren really simplified the game for me from a standpoint of like, obviously rewiring my mind to go in the building and know like, this is what they're looking for out of you. But also my process as far as I think a lot of offensive linemen, we get in this mode of like, we're hard on ourselves, right? Because even if it's good, it can be better. And I was the worst at that. Like, you made the block, but you could have done this or you could have done that. Darren just allowed me to get lost in the game from, like, I'll give you an example. Darren, after each practice, would have me list out these three things, and it was what went well, what could have gone better, and what's next.
What's next? Yeah.
Like that to me was like, I don't know why I couldn't come up with that on my own. But that to me, you could see the difference in my play. I'm not carrying a bad practice or carrying a bad game. Like I'm really actually building upon, the next thing. And I give a lot of credit to Darren because he revived my career from a standpoint of like my mentality. The big thing, Mike Vrabel used to always preach in the rooms, like finish after the guy with the ball. And Darren, I remember one day he's asking me like, what are the things that he says like in the meetings all the time? Like, what are the things that he's looking for? And I'm like, he always wants you to finish after Derrick Henry. Basically, like if Derrick Henry's hitting the ground, you need to be finishing after. That was something that we built within the plan, like every day. It was like, all right, what are you going to do today? I'm going to finish after the guy with the ball. And then from there, we can focus on everything else. But if you, like I said, it takes effort to show up in those moments, and your game just reflects that.
Yeah. And it's something that you probably never really thought about until those moments, because when you listen to coaches, they're going to tell you what they want, what they're looking for. It's then up to you to be able to really receive that information and then act on it. And so So that's a really cool story, man. That Mike turned that on for you, and then you was able to get with a psychologist that really helped revive your career, but also it's not just your career, it's life, because as we're about to transition into, life after football, those same skill sets travels. It travels. And so, you go on and you have a journeyman's career, is what they call it. I don't even know how I feel about that term. Because when you play in the league, man, like when you get to the league, you've done something special. And then to play in the league, and then to get starts and to get meaningful times and games and perform, just because you've been on a lot of multiple teams, it's like, do we really want to? Does it really mean that you're a journeyman? It's
right, because
you're also in a place where you can't control, all those different decisions. And so, so the big thing is to focus on yourself, but at the same time, like, I don't like that word journeyman. So I got to find another word to use. So, but you go on and you have a good career, and, you get to do something that you never thought you was going to be able to, you never had this in your head that you was going to grow up and be and do it. Take me through a couple of lessons that you learned as you start to think about that transition out of the sport into, life with kids and marriage and, taking on a new career. What was some of those lessons in sports that really, gave you confidence that, hey, I can do whatever I want to do outside this game?
Yeah, no, that's something that I'm super passionate about. I think, like I said, I told you, football and I think sports teaches you so much about life, but you always hear, football is the best, teacher of life. And so when I looked at my career from a standpoint of, we talk about being a journeyman, like being a journeyman, you are going to find out what traits you have that allow you to have a career. And when I look at those traits, it's the discipline, it's the ability to learn quickly, like the ability to.
Nope, you can't give me any more traits because I'm going to ask you a question at the end. So you've given me discipline and ability to learn.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, that's it.
We're gonna pause there for right now.
That's it. Yeah. We'll pause there. But let's just talk about discipline in the post career standpoint, because there was a point in time where after football was over, I didn't, like, you go through that identity piece of like, who am I without the game of football, and that was something that was really hard for me to kind of grasp the concept of. But it all, when I think about it.
Why was it hard for you, especially when you had the mindset of, I was a basketball guy and I'm coming on, I'm going to learn this position, and then you get an opportunity to play. Why was that? Why was your identity so wrapped up into the game?
Because I feel like it was all I knew was being an athlete. All I knew was like, you almost get wrapped up in the concept of the way that you feel fulfillment is to perform physically in a good sense. Mm-hmm. Like, I had a good game, I feel good about myself, or I had a good practice, I feel good. And so when you don't have that ability to go out and play or practice or use your physical gifts to get the fulfillment that you are accustomed to, there's like this reality that sets in of like, okay, who is the actual person within the body? Like, is that person within the body actually happy without the game? And to me, like, I was not in a good spot afterwards.
Now that you're done with football and you've kind of taken all these lessons from the game and you've made this transition to life, the piece that really matters. What are you doing now, and how long did it really take you to really get into the rhythm of new life without that identity being football?
Yeah. Well, I would say first it took me around 2 years to actually come to terms with my career and to have a different perspective around my career. I dabbled in whether I wanted to coach. I spent some time coaching with the Dolphins, time coaching with the Rams. Like all of those things were very real for me as far as me just enjoying the game of football. But when I looked at it, I wanted to do something next that made me step out of my comfort zone. I felt like that was the only way I was going to be able to grow as a man. First off, it was to step out of the game of football. Like, yeah, I could have went and coached, but like this is what I know, and it's not forcing me to expand my knowledge any further. So throughout those 2 years of like kind of doing the internal work, but also figuring out what, makes me tick, like podcasting ended up being one of those things that I really started to enjoy when I thought about like guys like us that we want to talk to people and get these stories, and because it's almost therapeutic in a sense. Like, I don't know if you look at it that way, but to me, like the conversation, the ability to hold a conversation with someone and get their story, but also resonate with their story and just grow from a standpoint of like what you went through and what I went through, and know that it's not just me by myself experiencing it. Like that was something that intrigued me about it. So, podcasting became something that I got really passionate about, and I had to get over my fear of like being in front of a microphone or hearing my own voice and things like that. But that's something that, football equipped me with those skills in order to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, I would say it took me a minute to kind of get into this podcasting piece, but it's also, one of those the thing for me, the two things for me that really is therapeutic is the main one is being able to go out on my farm and cut grass and get on and do some bush hogging and just seeing things accomplished throughout the day, because in life sometimes you get stuck, things are not moving fast as you want them to move, but that's one place where I can go and like immediately see a change in something. And so that's really one of my biggest therapeutic things that I enjoy doing. I started talking to my therapist.
Yeah.
But that second piece is, the podcasting piece for me, it helps me with my my empathy and my compassion, being able to talk to guys who have lived, a similar life, and whether it's a coach or a GM or a CEO of a company, they've lived different lives than what we've lived. It gives me the ability to kind of like, again, have that compassion for what their career has been, but also have compassion for myself and have grace, for, what we've done, what we've accomplished, even through the good and the bad. And so from my mindset, it's, I get both of those pieces, that therapeutic piece from, just being able to see things accomplished, and then that other therapeutic of just like being able to tap into those emotions of hearing someone else's story that's gone through it. But also, in some like embarrassment on some of it, because sometimes I spend all this time in a locker room with a guy, and I really never really dug into his story, and I didn't really get to know him like I probably should have. And so so I do have some of those moments where like guys I've been around, I'm like, man, I wish I would have got to know you more, some of the things that really made you tick as a person. We only kind of sometimes in this game, because of it's such a transactional game with free agency, someone getting cut, and then you don't want to emotionally invest in people because of they may be gone tomorrow, so we kind of get lulled into that mindset, and this has been a really good reminder that like the human side of it is still very, very important to really get to know people, man, and it's little nuggets that I've heard throughout this this journey of podcasting has been for me. I can implement that. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh, this, when I'm having a challenging time, I can now think back to someone else's story that I just listened to or had a personal conversation with. And get myself, all right, I'm good now, And so it's been good. I definitely resonate with that.
Man, yeah, no, that's big. I think, speaking in terms of like you said, relationships become transactional when you're in the NFL. One thing that I've realized is like, I really do appreciate my friendships that have continue to grow post career. While we were teammates, but we now continue to stay in contact with each other because that is the norm. Like I think a lot of guys go through that transactional piece of like, okay, if you're on the team, you have a friendship with this person, but once you leave the team, that friendship is now over. I was talking to Ben Jones this morning about you. Ben Jones is somebody that I tap in with regularly, and we, battle together in training camp and in games and things like that. And I would have never thought like we'd be lifelong friends, but I appreciate the fact that we both put in the effort to make the friendship continue to grow, because you don't get that a lot out of, guys within the league, especially former teammates.
Yeah, no, Ben's a great human, man.
Man,
he's
Ben
one of those guys that he's gonna check in whether you like it or not. He's tapping
100%,
in.
100%. Random FaceTime call or whatever it is. Like I'm just appreciative of like those friendships that you have substance, instead of like, oh, we were on the team and now we don't talk because you're not on the team. Those friendships mean a lot to me.
This has been a fantastic conversation, man. As I start to really wrap up, a couple questions that I like to ask. The first question for you is, when you think back to your career, and you've already given me a couple of them with discipline and, willing to learn. But when you think back to your life and your career and where you're going, where you want to be, what are those intangibles you think that has made you who you are today, and those intangibles that's going to continue to propel you into, later in life?
Yeah. Like you said, discipline to me is at the forefront. I know I got cut off before I got to say the ability to learn though. Like I really think, the ability to learn and stay curious about things will continue to propel me into spaces that, maybe I don't get into if I'm not having that mindset. Like, I just think it goes a long way in terms of like asking questions to people that may have knowledge about something that you want to learn, right? Like, don't be the guy that's too prideful to say, oh, tell me a little bit more about that. Like, I want to know more about it. So I think that's going to be something in this phase of life, like my curiosity around new things and trying new things out of my comfort zone. That's the phase that I'm in right now. And not being scared to ask there is no dumb question. Like,
right.
And 9 times out of 10, the person you're talking to is willing to teach you about what they're doing. So ask questions and be curious and just get out your comfort zone.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, man. You've gone through, again, a very different path than a lot of guys when you're talking about playing this position.
Yeah.
What piece of advice do you have for a young lineman who's, undersized, who's trying to figure out that, if the sport is for them, but they're showing these intangibles, they're showing these attributes that they do belong. What piece of advice would you have for them as you think back to your journey on this path of getting to the highs of the high?
Yeah, I would say you don't lack anything. Like, you have everything that you need in order to be at that level. Like, there would be times where, I wish I was bigger. I wish I was stronger. I wish I had shorter limbs because I would have different leverage. Like, no, I didn't lack anything. Like, I had everything I needed. I just needed to learn how to play into my strengths and do what makes me me, like do what got me there. So I would tell that person, man, lean into the things that you do well, understand that your weaknesses aren't necessarily weaknesses. They're just things that you have to continue to, you know, sharpen, and don't think that you, for one second, that you lack the ability to do something at a high level.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, man. Man, I've always loved talking to a former lineman, man. That just you know, you guys just get it, and there's a you know, easy conversation, and definitely that compassion for one another is knowing that, you know, it's one of the thankless jobs and the job that, you know, it has to be done, and if it's going to be done, why not us? And so, you know, we have that same mindset. So, really, really enjoy having this conversation with you, man. Thanks for joining us on the Intangible podcast. You know, I'm continue to really think about how do we continue to really pour back into young people, and I encourage you to do the same as you are doing what you're doing, and I feel like we're gonna go back real fast because we didn't really talk about this, and I have my guys, you know, bring this back to the forefront. But, you know, what is for the underdog? You know, what is the podcast? You know, why the podcast? And what are you, you know, hoping to bring to light with the Underdog podcast?
Yeah, man. So For the Underdogs is a podcast that was birthed in the process of me figuring out who I was and what I wanted to do after the game of football. And I've always felt like I've been an underdog, and I never felt like we get the stories of underdogs. And I'm not saying that from a standpoint of like, you know, there aren't guys who, you know, are successful that have been underdogs that we've heard their stories. And I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying from a standpoint of like, there are guys that have life experiences, or women as well, that have life experiences that people can resonate with, but because they're not at the forefront of, you know, the top of their business or whatever, or you don't see their name in the paper, you never get to hear from those people. And a lot of times they're the engine behind it all. And I think in terms of like the offensive line, like we don't get the credit, or, you know, half the time your name is only in the paper. And I'm sure you know that, you know the saying, you know how it goes. Exactly. So I've had that mindset of like, For the Underdogs is for people, men and women, that have these powerful stories that we can share them, we can normalize them, and we can grow from them. And that's what the platform is to me. Like, the podcast is just an umbrella. It's under an umbrella of what For the Underdogs can be like. And so I'm excited to obviously keep pushing it, but I'm proud of where it's at right now, because I think it really stands for something and it has substance behind it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, man. Because what you know, what I realize in this space too is that, you know, just in life in general now, people want someone who's going to be real authentic and vulnerable, and being able to touch on those pieces that, you know, they may be afraid. Someone may be afraid to even admit or say. And these are the spaces that you get to hear from others who, you know, who are those engines behind a lot of things. You know, talk about their vulnerabilities, and so hopefully that someone can hear it and it changes, you know, their perspective. And so kudos to you, man. I'll make sure that, you know, we'll keep pushing the podcast, because that's, you know, that's where we are. And I think that's, you know, those things are needed to be able to share those stories. And so, man, it's been awesome talking to you, brother. And I'm really excited for, you know, your journey and how you continue to grow. I'm definitely going to keep up with you. Next time you're here in Nashville, stop in. Let's, you know, tap in. Sure. We can get some of this juice off the wall and pour up.
And, would love to,
you know,
man.
Yeah, go grab a bite to eat or something, man. But Jay, man, I really appreciate you joining us on the Intangible podcast. It's been a fun episode.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me, and keep doing what you're doing, man. It's like you said, it's always good to speak to like-minded people, and I'm obviously tuned in to what you're doing. So kudos to you as well, bro.
Cool, man. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.